So I get a lot of comments from people asking me, hey Wasim, how do you deal with quality of life as you play on a MacBook? You know, I don't have access to things like Blox Link or Roblox Account Manager or any sort of quality of life features that Windows players have. And the answer is there are alternatives, but they're a bit hard to find, so I decided why not make this video to show everyone how I get things like mana overlays, keybinds, auto clickers, Blox Link alternative, and even things like macros. Everything I mention will be linked in the description, as well as other videos detailing specific things that I'm not too well versed on. But regardless, I hope that if you are a Mac user, you're able to get something out of this, because genuinely, it's not that bad playing on a Mac. I'd argue that in some aspects it's even better than playing on a Windows machine. So the first thing we're going to start out with is a mana bar overlay. So what we're going to be using is Layer X, which is basically custom desktop overlay but for Mac. I've got my mana bar overlay right here. This will be linked in the description, and it will also be in my Discord server if you want to find it. And the way we apply it is really simple. Basically, we're going to want to open up Layer X, and once it's open, it asks us to drop an image. We just grab our overlay, make sure it's a .png file, and we just drag it in. And then we do Command and plus to make it bigger a bit until it's big enough to fit, and then we just move it until it snaps into place. So it should snap into place right there, and we press Command L to lock it. And now it doesn't move around, and it's on the screen. So now I can see my mana bar overlay. I have got green mana, so that's low-key a little bit annoying, but you can change the color to whatever you want. And you can also change it with your aspect ratio. I'm currently playing on 2048 by 1332 aspect ratio, so if you need it to change, just throw it into Photoshop or whatever alternative app you have and resize it to fit your mana bar. But yeah, that's how I get my mana bar overlay. It's not that difficult, but the app is very not well known and it took me a lot of time to actually find it. But now we can move on to keybinds. And the app that I use for keybinds is called Carabiner Elements, or Carabiner Elements, I'm not sure. It supports all of these versions of Mac, which is basically the last like 6 or 7 years of Mac. And to check your Mac version, just go to the top left to the Apple logo and click About This Mac, and it should tell you what version you're on right here. Once you've downloaded it, it should look a little something like this. It already recognizes my keyboard and my mouse. And if you want to go ahead and just put your keybinds in here, like maybe say we want to put X as a number, let's say like 9, that will work. So if I press X now, it's pressing 9. But these kind of keybinds suck because the only way to turn them off is to go to your profiles and actually change them. So what we're going to do is we're going to use complex modifications, which are what we have right here. As you can see, I have T rebound to 7, C bound to hyphen, and this is actually E to 9, but I don't know why it's called remap T to G. I will have the code for this in a paste bin in the description. And basically all you want to do is you just want to change the letter to whatever letter you want to use, and then the number to whatever number you want it to be. And then you just go up here, press add your own rule, and then copy and paste it. This one is necessary, and I'll have this linked on its website so that you can just import it directly. If the link doesn't work, you can just go to predefined rules by community and just look up section sign. And section sign to backtick should show up, and you can just press import and it will import itself. That keybind in particular is to make sure you can open your inventory using the little button above tab. Otherwise it switches to the button right next to your left shift, which is a lot more difficult to press, and I don't know, I just find it more comfortable to press above tab. Also, make sure you have your profiles set to different things. Like I've got one for Minecraft, I've got one for Rogue, and I've got the normal one, which is what I use for regular typing. Because if I try typing like this, if I try saying like, hello, my name is Seam, it kind of doesn't work. Unless I use caps lock, which is why if you see me in game typing in caps lock, it's because I have my keybinds on. But to get around that, you can just have your profiles set right here, and you can just switch between them as you please. I also highly recommend turning off the notification window because it gets really annoying and sometimes it just tabs you out of your game randomly for no apparent reason, so just turn that off once you download the software. Now the next thing we're going to look at is auto-clickers, but I personally do not use an auto-clicker in Rogue because I just click normally. But if you were to want to use an auto-clicker, you can actually just use 7-clicker. It is an available thing. If you just look up 7-clicker and you download the .jar file, it works completely fine. As you can see, I can pull it up right here and I can just turn it on and it's clicking. I'm just holding down left click and it works completely fine. I'm not exactly sure how to use it. Whenever I use it, I end up making my ping go to like 7 billion. I don't know how I've managed to make that happen, but I don't use auto-clickers, so I'm not too well versed on that. But just know that is an option that you do have. Now this next one is just general quality of life on Roblox, as well as multi-Robloxing. A popular add-on to Roblox on Windows is called Blocks Link, and there is actually a Mac alternative called Apple Blocks. And it's what I personally use to have multi-instance and things like that. It's not as good as Blocks Link as it is a newer software, but it's constantly being worked on and I'm personally a big fan of how it works. Also, a little known fact is that with the new updates to multi-Roblox on Windows, where your game closes after 30 minutes, this does not apply to people who play on Mac, so you can run as many instances as you want, and none of them will ever close on you, unless your game crashes. You have things like FPS unlockers, which I don't personally use because I play on my MacBook screen, and it's limited to 60 Hz only. You can also change your graphics API and your lighting technology. These are the two which I've found to have the best performance with, but you can just play around and experiment until you find the best one for you. If you play on a lower end machine, you can separate quality and distance here by just clicking and setting your graphics quality to a lower amount and then going into Roblox, and this will instead change your render distance, so you can change it to like 4 or 5 bars. Personally, my laptop is already quite good, so I don't need to worry about this. And another important thing to turn on is level of detail, which basically makes it so that the farther away things are, the worse their detail is, which just saves a ton of FPS and performance. You also have things like mods. I have this 2008 cursor, which I never use, so I just have it off by default. You can also add custom fonts and just a bunch of other stuff. It's currently being worked on, but in general I find it incredibly useful, especially for the multi-Roblox feature. To my knowledge, there is no Roblox account manager alternative for Mac, so you will just have to log into them manually, but you can just set passkeys and that makes your life a hell of a lot easier, especially on Mac, which has a fingerprint scanner in the top right of your keyboard anyway. Alright, so I'm editing the video right now and I low-key realized that I completely forgot to show how to actually use multi-Roblox, because it's not the same as on Windows where you just click play after logging in again and it will open up a second instance. It's a little more complicated than that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is actually go into Apple Blocks and click enable multi-instance, and now it should be open already. And you can just launch Rogue on one account, and Apple Blocks should launch the account for you. And from here, you can either press new instance to open up another Roblox instance, but I've found that this doesn't work sometimes, or once you press play on Rogue on the new instance, it just crashes randomly. So what I typically do is I go to my applications and go to Roblox and click show package contents. Go into Contents, go into macOS, and then click Roblox Player, and it should open a new instance while keeping the other instance still open. And then from here, you need to log out, log into your other account, and then press play. It's a little bit finicky, and you can't hop servers with more than one account at a time because of this, but it's better than nothing, to be honest. So I use OBS for all of my clipping, and I'll show you my settings, which I have found work best for me. As for recording formats, I always have it to MKV or a fragmented MOV, because if my computer randomly shuts down or something happens and it crashes, the video is preserved and it doesn't get corrupted. As for video encoders, I prefer Apple VT H.264 hardware encoder. Don't use any software encoders. As long as it's a hardware encoder, it should work. There's another one which is HVEC, I believe, but I've personally found that H.264 works better for me. I have my bitrate control to CBR, which I recommend the most because the other two are kind of slow, and I have my bitrate set to 4000 kilobits per second. As for video, I record in 1080p 60 FPS, and as for my canvas, I just capture the full screen, so I don't have to worry about accidentally leaving stuff out when I edit. For audio, I have made sure that the tracks are separate so that my mic and my game audio are captured completely differently. If I go to recording, it records audio tracks 1 and 2. And for my replay buffer, I have the replay's time set to 300 seconds or 5 minutes, so that even if I forget to press it, I'll probably have recorded it anyway. And then for hotkeys, for replay buffers, I have F13 set to save the replay, so whenever I go in, I just press F13, and it takes a screenshot for some reason, but it also just saves a replay for me, which is really handy. And finally, we have macros, which you can just go into Automator. Now, I'm not well too versed on macroing because I don't really use macros, but apparently you can use Automator to just run auto hotkey scripts for specific things like Roblox and stuff, and it will work specifically on them. I've personally never tested it out because I don't really play any classes that require macros, and I don't really macro ever anyway. But just so you know, that is an option for people who are smarter than me and who want to macro on a MacBook. But yeah, that's pretty much how I do all of my quality of life stuff on a MacBook. It's not really that difficult, and as you can tell, we don't really have anything missing besides Roblox Account Manager, which is fine because our multi-Roblox doesn't crash every 30 minutes anyway. And yeah, if you enjoyed or you found this useful at all, please let me know, and I'll see you with whenever I make another video. Thank you for watching.